Hello guys and welcome to my T-62, not Type 62, what the hell am I on about? T-62 review in War Thunder. Slight disclaimer, I'm going to say that right off the bat this is my favourite tier 5 main, well, medium, but it's really a main battle tank, in War Thunder at the moment. However, I don't actually own any of the other tier 5 main battle tanks at this current stage. I'm using this opinion purely on what I've been told by other people, whether they're in my squadron, people I squad up with occasionally, people I've met in game, when fighting enemy vehicles in this tank. Mine is not fully upgraded yet, and I have a good reason for that. The reason is I enjoy playing this thing so much that I'm in absolutely no rush whatsoever to elite it. Some call this spading it, but it's really supposed to be called eliting it. Anyway, the T-62 has a 150mm U5TS cannon, right? This is a smoothbore gun, it's not rifled. The turret rotation speed is 11.1 degrees per second, which is pretty good. -6 degrees gun depression, which is, I think I may be right in saying, one of the best for any Russian tank currently. Most Russian tanks usually have somewhere between -3 and -5-ish. Of course, this varies from one tank to the next, and even certain tanks in the same lineup, depending on the armor layout. Anyway, 100mm of frontal hull armor, 80 side, 45 at the rear. Turret is 200 at the front, 160 at the sides, and 65 at the rear. This armor, I need to point out, is one of the best at its tier. Most of the Leopards, you could basically sneeze at them and you'd go straight through their armor. But armor is not important at this tier. Okay? Everyone is firing heat FS, which in most cases has around 400mm of penetration. So regardless of what your armor is, you cannot rely on it to save you at this battle rating. It's whoever shoots first wins. Alright? I don't really do very well with this sort of meta during tier 5 gameplay because I'm very aggressive. I'm a very aggressive player, which is kind of why I like this tank, because even though it's fast, it will do 50 kilometers an hour. Most of the time it won't reach that speed, so even though I'm determined to rush ahead, because of the slow speed of this tank on, unless it's on tarmac, it kind of stops me from getting ahead of everybody else and being the first one spotted and the first one to die. So you get a 7.62mm SG M&T machine gun as backup with 2,500 rounds of ammunition, which, I suppose is good for spotting. It's not much good for anything else. The armor penetration on the shells, as I said, mine is not upgraded, so I'm still using the Sabo at the moment, fin stabilized discarding Sabo. 291mm at 100 meters at a 90-degree angle, so flush on. The second shell, which is fin stabilized discarding Sabo. Hang on a minute. That's the same shell, I think. Near enough. Yeah, we'll gloss over that. The Sabo has one of the highest velocities in the game. 1,615 meters per second. This means you barely have to elevate your gun when you're firing at long range, apart from extreme circumstances, which I really like. You also get high explosive, but I never use high explosive on any vehicle in the game. I don't see the point in it. The top shell for this tank is heat fin stabilized, like it is for almost every other tank at this tier, which weighs 13 kilos. And 440mm of pen at any range at a 90-degree angle, 381 at any range at a 60-degree angle, and 219 at a 30-degree angle at any range. This is the shell that you'll want to be using. However, it's 1200 lions per shot. So if you're going to use it, make sure you kill whatever you're aiming at, because this will take a serious bite into your profit from the game that you're in. A very serious bite. Okay, so let's have a look at the crew layout, something I forgot to do for my T-34 garage review. No, I don't want that, go away. Thank you. Show armor, right. So as I said, 100mm at the front, upper and lower glacis, though this is sloped at 55° angle on the lower plate, 60° angle on the upper plate for roughly 190, well, between, if we start at the bottom, 182 to 196mm of armor. Again though, this doesn't really matter. The heat shells have twice the penetration that this armor's effectiveness, so it's kind of irrelevant. It will help if anyone is unlucky enough to be firing standard shells like Sabo or even armor piercing, just normal armor piercing. But of course you'd have to angle first, because those sort of shells at this tier will have enough pen unless you angle your armor, something like that. Then we have 250 up to 265mm effective armor on the upper plate, and up to nearly 300mm of effective armor on the lower plate. So you can see where that comes into effect there. Turret armor. The gun mantlet we'll get to in a minute because that's layered. As the turret is sloped on the T-62, much like it is on the T-54, although this is much more extreme, effective thickness is 222 to begin with if we start near where the gun sight is, and slowly graduates out to over, that's an automatic ricochet zone there. Anyone who's got any common sense though is going to aim left or right of the gun. They're not going to try and hit there, but I have had shots bounce, even heat, although that was more to luck than my personal judgment or their bad aim, or unlucky on their side at least. So, gun mantlet. We have 200mm there. Roughly, this is a little bit difficult to do with the pad on the PS4, so please forgive me. 50mm there, 225. Basically, this is layered, okay? Chances are that, once again, most people won't aim here. They just you only really have to aim for center of mass. As I said earlier, it is very much the first person to fire gets the kill, unless they're incredibly unlucky or they're using the wrong type of, unless they're unlucky enough not to be using heat. So the armor layout, much like every tank at this tier, we have an ammo rack in the front. With the T-62, you're unlucky enough to be burdened with a fuel tank at the front as well. The crew is very tightly packed into the turret with the breech of that very large gun. It is, I have had it happen before that the breach can save you. If someone fires from the left, or from the right, it can kill the loader or kill the gunner, but the breach blocks the rest of the shell, although that does mean that your breach is out of action, so you're in a world of shit in that case because you can't shoot back. Another fuel tank down here below the crew compartment. The engine, the transmission, the radiator, and well, yeah, the engine and transmission are all located in the back of the tank, which is usual for this battle rating. I think the Leopard is pretty much the same as this. Anyway, I'm doing the T-34-100 video at the moment, but once I've finished that, I will hop into the T-62 and get some games in and bang that into a video. As I said with my T-34 Garage review, I'm struggling a little bit with my editing software, so that the gameplay footage may or may not have a voice overlay on it. I'll see if I can record a voice onto it in my editing software, but if not, it won't have a voice overlay on it. So this is the main, that will just be for your enjoyment of watching as opposed to information, and you can take what you want from the gameplay footage itself. One other thing as well, by the way, due to the April Fool's event / test event that's going on at the moment with the Tier 9 tanks, the T-90 and the Leopard 2A5, so many people are playing that. As you can see, there's currently 64,000 people online, which is a lot. That's nearly 40,000 more than I'm used to seeing at this sort of time of day. Mainly, I guarantee you that's because of that event. Most of the people that are on at the moment are playing that event. I have been up until this point, but I've realised that driving this on the T-34 in games, which is the only tanks I've driven so far in normal matchmaker, outside of the event, because there's so many people playing the event, the matchmaker is having to stick you into lower tier games. Most of the time this tank will be fighting 8.3 battle rank because it's an 8.0 tank. However, the past couple of games I've gone into, I've been fighting 7.0s, sometimes 6.7s, which is nice, and that's probably what's going to be in the gameplay footage, but you'll have to take that with a pinch of salt, because chances are you won't actually be fighting those tanks. So, same story with the T-32 as you'll see when that gets uploaded. You seem to get down tiered more than anything. Most of the time when I'm driving that tank, I end up in 7.7 games. I get fully up tiered. So just bear that in mind. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the gameplay.
Attention!